social justice topic choice for this presentation, I decided to pick animal rights, and I'll be discussing the definition of animal rights, and then the four main components of how their rights are taken away, which is through the entertainment, experiments, clothing, and food. So, to start off, the definition of animal rights, it is the idea of that every animal is to be entitled to the same possessions that humans have, and that their basic interest should be afforded the same per human. The first topic I'll be discussing is animals in the entertainment industry. So this has been going on from like a number of years. So this can be something just little, from animals starring in commercials or little petting zoos to big things like big zoos and circuses. So also animal actors are another common one found in the entertainment industry. So most of it might sound glamorous, the idea of circuses and all that, but for the animals, it's quite the opposite. They get a lot of abuse in circuses and animal actors. So, for example, like in circuses, the trainers can train, well, they're trained the animals, they're not under any surveillance of whatsoever, so they can get away with abuse towards them because there's no government agencies that monitor them. There's been like several cases of videotapage of like animals getting with bull horns whacked and bears beating with long poles and big cats being dragged by their necks with heavy chains, and it just goes on. They're also under constant confinement and like always traveling in extreme weather conditions. So another example would be animal actors, and these are mostly chimps and apes. And this is very psychologically harming because they get the apes like when they're just babies, and their mothers are also psychologically harmed too because they just have to give up their baby. And they often beat the apes with either their fists or whips to get them to comply to what they're trying to teach them. Another aspect is experimentation on animals, which is taking it away, their rights away, because they perform serious harm and even death in the end. They go through many curiosity-driven experiences. Many animals go through tests for cosmetics, for drugs, for chemicals, used as science lab experiments. Some animals have holes drilled into their skulls, their skin burned off, and all this stuff is happening while they're alive. So, in particular, mice and rats, they've been known to be using experiments for quite a time now, and over 100 million rats have been killed just in U.S. laboratories alone. And they're subjected to painful shocks, injected with drugs like cocaine, and they have no pain relievers at all while this is going on. And they have the same similar nervous systems as humans do, so they feel pain, they have emotion, they experience loneliness and happiness and the same feelings as we do. And also frequent animal use and experimentations is rabbits, and they typically are used in cosmetic product tests. So there's one specific test called the Dre's eye test, and this is where they put like shampoo or any other liquids in animals' eyes to test them to see if the reaction, to see if they're safe for humans to use. But this often ends in extreme pain for the animal, and they often end up killing the rabbits in the end after they go through this severe torture. Now, for animals in the fashion industry, millions of animals are killed just for this clothing industry alone. Like sheep and cows, they're slaughtered for it. Animals are put in small cages and confined until up to their death. The fashion industry uses the animal's fur or their skin for humans to wear. So specifically the fur industry is functioning all over the world. The animals, they're off in this confined little area, and then the methods to extract their fur are some of gas, poison, suffocation, and on some ends, more extremely, they'll be hanged or bleed to death and be skinned alive. Canada actually has two particular things for the fur industry. The bears, they are used and they're chopped and shot for their fur, which is made to make ceremonial hats in Canada. And another big one is the Canadian seal slaughter, which over 10,000 baby seals are shot and killed with metal hooks for purely their fur. Another point for the fashion industry would be the leather part. So it can be made from leather, can be used from pigs, goats, cows, sheep. In India, there was this one incident where it was caught on video where in order to get the cows ready to go to the slaughterhouse, they would shove tobacco in their eyes and try and suffocate them to wake them up just to go to the slaughterhouses, which is very psychologically damaging, physically. They get dehorned, branded. Some cases, they're dismembered, their body parts, and without pain relievers at all. And the last main point of how animal rights are taken away is how they're being used for food. So we know the meat industry has been around for thousands of years, and it's still going pretty strong today. Basically, their ideology of the factory farming is to maximize their output while minimizing their costs, and the costs are mostly always at the animal's expense. And the living conditions and the weather conditions that they have to go through in order to be slaughtered are just torturous alone before the torture starts. For example, pigs are a major moneymaker for the meat industry. The mothers, they are constantly inbred in tiny confined areas until their bodies can no longer give out, and then they're left to go to the slaughterhouses and they're used for meat, and their babies are taken away from them when they're so young, and it's very psychologically damaging towards the baby and the mothers. The piglets also get tortured as well right after they're removed from their mother. They get their tails chopped off and other means of abuse without any painkillers at all, and they get their teeth pried off. It's just a bunch of stuff. And actually, chickens are the most abused animal in the world. They're constantly being raised just to be killed for the benefits of us. Baby chicks never get time to interact with their mothers. They're taken away the second that they're basically born. There's two main factors that we use chickens for. There are chickens called broilers, and there's chickens called laying hens. The broilers are basically used for the flesh, and the laying hens are used for the eggs. And so the broilers, they spend their entire lives confined into extremely confined sheds, and most of them get diseases because it's very common for them to break out there. They are bred so quickly and fast that their organ systems often cannot keep up with them, and they end up dying before they get to the slaughterhouse. As for the laying hens, they're cramped into small wire cages. They're forced to urinate and defecate on each other. Parts of their beaks are also ripped off without any pain relievers, and then once they can no longer produce their eggs, they are sent to the slaughterhouses and used for meat, just like the broilers. With keeping all these things in consideration, there's always looking forward. There's many programs or organizations like PETA and Mercy for Animals and Canadian Animal Welfare Society ones that are trying to provide information on how these things can be prevented. Actually, now you see more and more people becoming vegetarian and vegan and adapting a cruelty-free lifestyle, which is now seen really common in today's society.